Well, I have good news for you today. And the good news I have for you today is all about curses. Curses? Yes, curses. Good news about curses. Well, you know, today's story is about curses and blessings. And if you win the lottery, it can be a curse or a blessing, can't it? We've all heard the stories. Some people win the lottery and do quite well and benefit and are giving help to charities. They're taking care of themselves. They're investing their money, using it wisely. It's a real blessing. Then other people win the lottery and they become alcoholics or drug addicts. They get a divorce. The money has caused a big problem, and before you know it, they are penniless. Blessings and curses. You can make it anything you want, I guess. But when it comes to God, there seems to be a moral issue here. There are blessings and there are curses. You've all seen this slogan, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Well, you know, life sometimes can be like a lemon. It's kind of sour. But then, fortunately, God is able to give you a little sugar and a little water, and the next thing you know, you do have lemonade. So when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Curses and blessings. Well, in the book of 2 Kings, chapter 22, it talks about some folks who discovered some old scrolls. Seems like they were cleaning out the garage, if you please. And while they're cleaning out the garage, they discover some old scrolls, and they bring these scrolls to King Josiah. And guess what? He looks at them and he gets all excited because it is about the book of Deuteronomy. The scroll is most likely the book of Deuteronomy. And that's the book that we're looking at today. That's the story. That book contains the story of the curses and the blessings. Well, first of all, let's look at where the story takes place. Here is the Jordan River. I'm going to point an arrow to it so you can see it. It connects the Sea of Galilee with the Dead Sea. And there's the Jordan River, and on the western side of the Jordan River is the Promised Land. So the children of Israel need to cross the river to get to the Promised Land. And just on the other side of the Promised Land is Mount Ebal. Now, this is one of the mountains where our story takes place today. And then the other mountain is Mount Gerizim, and it's located right here. And in the middle is a city called Shechem. Now, just to give you a little bit of understanding so you'll know where you are on this map, Jerusalem is pictured right here. Most of you know where Jerusalem is. So you can see that this story takes place really in the center of the Promised Land. And that's important because as we look at this city of Shechem and what happened there, I mean, this is just absolutely an amazing story. And you know what? Most of you don't know this story. Maybe a few of you do, but most of you don't know this story. You haven't heard this story. But boy, is it ever powerful. Now, you see I put a red line, a red arrow on the map between Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim because this is exactly where the story takes place. Now, if you were standing at the Jordan River and you were looking to the west, this is what you would see. On the right, you would see Mount Ebal, and on the left, you would see Mount Gerizim, and in the center, in the valley, there is Shechem. This is the place of the curses and the blessings. Now, you'll notice on the slide it says there's a natural amphitheater located here. The valley formed a natural amphitheater. A speaker's voice could be heard on both hillsides. Likewise, the shouts of a crowd on Gerizim could be heard on Ebal, and vice versa. And so today, I'd like to divide our congregation. You know, half of you on Mount Ebal and half of you on Mount Gerizim. And what happened is that the ark and the priest and Moses were down in the valley. And while they were in the valley, the Israelites were on either side, either on Gerizim or Ebal. And here is where something really special took place. You know, of course, about the Old Covenant. When the children of Israel first got the Ten Commandments, God made a covenant with them, a promise. A covenant is like an agreement or a contract. And the covenant was renewed at the place of the curses and blessings. It was first given to Moses, but then it's renewed in our story today, and we're going to be looking at that renewal. But initially, back when it was first given, here's what the covenant was. Now, God says, if you obey me fully and keep my covenant, or keep this contract, then all of the nations, out of all of them, you will be my treasured possession. That's why they are called the chosen people, because God chose them. And God says, if you will keep the law, you will be my treasured possession. And what did the people say? Well, in Exodus 19, the people all responded together, we will do everything that the Lord has said. And so Moses brought their answer back to the Lord. They promised to do everything that God asked them to do. Everything. In other words, they promised to be perfect. Are you perfect? I remember a time when I was baptized. I was 12 years old. It was in Cleveland, Ohio. And I was as sincere as a 12-year-old can be. I wanted to be baptized. I wanted all of my sins washed away. And I determined in my own heart I would never, ever sin again. I was clean, and I was never going to sin again. And I remember getting baptized in a church. And I remember coming up out of the water and just feeling elated and feeling clean and beautiful. And I had no sins on my record. And I was so thrilled. And then I went back and I dried off. I changed clothes. I went and I sat down in the pew. And I was just ecstatic that I was now perfect in God's sight. But you know what? My parents both worked. And I spent a lot of time at home by myself because I was an only child. And we had a television set. And they televised most of the Cleveland Indian baseball games. But when Friday night came along, the Sabbath would begin, and I would not watch baseball. I would not listen to baseball, but baseball had become my life, my babysitter.